This is unreal. What an insane twist as Gojo is declared the winner of the biggest fight in the history of Jujutsu Kaisen. Shinjuku is destroyed and Sukuna definitely isn't beating the Fraudkuna allegations. Gege was cooking, Gojo was cooking, and we need to talk about this right now. You guys know how this works. If you enjoy our Jujutsu Kaisen videos and you want to see more in the future, leave a quick like and comment right now for that YouTube algorithm. And if you want to help us get this channel to special grade status by hitting 2 million subscribers, do me a favor and subscribe right now. We are getting closer to that insane 2 million number, so every subscription counts. Finally, this video will of course contain Jujutsu Kaisen manga spoilers, so please proceed with caution. You have been warned. Just a little while ago, things weren't looking so great for Gojo as Sukuna used Mahoraga and Agito to 3v1 him. Gojo even lost his arm during the course of the last chapter. Yuta strongly considered intervening in the fight to help Gojo and to make it at least a fair fight. But he was ultimately advised against intervening by Kusakabe and the others. Having his students there on the battlefield might make things even harder on Gojo, as he would then feel responsible for keeping them all safe on top of trying to take care of himself. In addition, Sukuna likely has a trump card that he is planning to use when the others intervene. So they shouldn't intervene unless Gojo is weakened to such an extent that intervention becomes the only option. But even though things seemed bad, there was a huge twist at the end of the last chapter. Gojo used blue at maximum output to destroy Agito. He also began growing back his right hand, despite speculation that he may not be able to heal himself anymore, and the narrator told us that within 41 seconds, Gojo will successfully use Hollow Technique Purple to level the playing field, like literally. The latest chapter begins in the immediate aftermath of Agito's destruction. As Sukuna and Mahoraga reel from the shock of what just happened. After all, they themselves just barely avoided being caught up in Gojo's attack. Gojo quickly regrows his right arm fully, and once again he has a smile on his face. The narrator describes this as Satoru Gojo's voltage rising even further. And I honestly wish that we could have seen Shoko's face in the exact moment that Gojo healed his arm so easily while smiling. She was legitimately so worried about him, and she thought that he may no longer be able to heal himself because of how far he has been pushing himself. So I can just picture everyone in that viewing room turning to look at Shoko right after it happened. Clearly she underestimated our boy. The narrator then makes it clear that the King of Curses, Ryomen Sukuna, is feeling nervous for the first time in 1,000 years. And yes, it's one thing to look at Sukuna's expression and speculate that he might be getting worried about Gojo, but it's quite another thing to have the narrator straight up confirm that Sukuna is nervous. He will never beat those Fraudkuna allegations now. The dude was caught in 4K by the narrator himself. But obviously Sukuna isn't like giving up or anything, and he and Mahoraga engage Gojo in close range, hand-to-hand combat. Once again, it's a 2v1, but at least it's better than the 3v1 we saw in the previous chapter. Gojo's martial arts skills appear to be on a higher level than Sukuna's, because in the middle of this 2v1, Gojo manages to grab Sukuna's arm and throw the King of Curses right into Mahoraga. He then follows up with a deadly black flash punch that Sukuna manages to avoid just barely because Mahoraga blocks it with his own body. This is like the 4th Black Flash that Gojo landed, by the way, so this is just incredible. Gojo then deliberately backs away from his two opponents in order to give himself some space. He proceeds with preparations for yet another big finishing move. Sukuna senses the start of Gojo's cursed energy as it begins to flow out in preparation for a major cursed technique maneuver. The narrator explains that, just like the sure hit effect that happens right before domain expansion, there is always a specific starting point for a big move. Even though Gojo has incredibly efficient cursed energy consumption thanks to the 6 eyes, he is not an exception in this regard. Due to the type and amount of cursed energy involved, Sukuna senses that Gojo is about to use Cursed Technique Reversal Red, and he prepares to have Mahoraga take the force of the hit and adapt to Red in the process. Although Sukuna's judgment wasn't wrong, it was incomplete. In short, Sukuna doesn't realize that Gojo is cooking. Hollow Technique Purple is of course a combination of red and blue. The two opposite forces clash and create purple, a force that annihilates everything in sight. It seems that the blue that Gojo had used earlier to destroy Agito still remained active after Agito's demise. And Sukuna quickly realizes that he needs to destroy either blue or red in order to prevent them from clashing with each other and creating purple. Mahoraga begins pursuing blue in order to destroy it before it makes contact with red. But Gojo is able to boost his speed by piggybacking on the effects of blue, and he then punches Mahoraga out of the way. However, Sukuna is now there as well, and he tries to destroy red with a piercing blood attack in an attempt to make it explode before it reaches blue. Gojo quickly attacks Sukuna, but not before Sukuna manages to fire off his attack directly at red. Sukuna believes that he succeeded and that Gojo was too late, but Gojo just looks at Sukuna and moves his technique to the next phase. Gojo chants, and this appears to strengthen blue and its effects, and so instead of hitting red, Sukuna's attack is attracted to and absorbed into blue. We see Yuta apologizing to Kusakabe for even considering to interfere before, because if he had been there, he would have hindered Gojo's concentration and what he just did would have been impossible. And what Gojo just did was successfully merge red and blue to activate Hollow Technique Purple. Mahoraga and Sukuna look absolutely shook as Gojo smiles and utters the word purple, and then a massive explosion literally flattens a huge chunk of Shinjuku. Mahoraga is destroyed completely, and while Gojo and Sukuna are both injured, Sukuna's injuries are clearly more severe, and Sukuna is barely standing. His left hand is missing, and he is an absolute bloody wreck. Gojo then points out this exact thing. He was forced to use purple without aiming it, which means that he also got caught up in the explosion. However, it is clear that the damage Sukuna sustained is a lot more severe. Gojo believes that because it was his own cursed energy that created the attack, he was not harmed as badly as his opponent. Sukuna is now alone. The Shikigami are gone, he is seriously injured, his healing is slow, and he doesn't have a fist to use for domain amplification. As Yuji and the others look on, Kusakabe proclaims that Gojo is the winner. Gojo wins, Sukuna loses, the greatest battle in the history of Jujutsu Kaisen is finally over. Or is it? It's important to remember that it was not the narrator who proclaimed Gojo to be the winner. It was Kusakabe, and that means we can't count Sukuna out just yet. Sukuna still has that trump card that was brought up so prominently in the previous chapter, and Sukuna also still has Megumi, which he can potentially use as leverage. I mean, sure, Gojo wants Sukuna to believe that he is prepared to sacrifice Megumi for victory, but that may not really be the case. When it really comes down to it, Gojo may hesitate to kill Megumi, and that could give Sukuna some kind of advantage. Nevertheless, after everything we've witnessed so far, and after the narrator confirmed that Sukuna is nervous because he knows that Gojo could win this, a good argument can be made for Gojo being the stronger sorcerer. All things being even, you could definitely argue that Gojo would ultimately defeat Sukuna in a fair one-on-one. However, as I said, Sukuna still has leverage with Megumi, he has that trump card which may or may not be something sneaky, and there's always Kenjaku who might be planning to help Sukuna at just the right moment. Despite the fact that Gojo was declared the winner, my opinion is that this fight isn't over yet. Sukuna might have been bested by Gojo, but that doesn't mean that this is a fair fight, or that this fight is over. Sukuna will either use his trump card, or he will use Megumi in some way, or Kenjaku, or something along those lines, in order to stay in the fight. He might also use some trick to escape from the fight, so that he can live to fight another day. But I definitely don't think that Gojo will just get a clean W here and literally kill Sukuna. The Jujutsu Kaisen story might be entering its climax, but it's not over yet, and we still haven't seen the last of Sukuna. After all, we still haven't seen Sukuna enter his four-arm form from 1,000 years ago, we still haven't seen Yuji reach his full potential, we still haven't seen what exactly Kenjaku is going to do with Tengen, so the story must continue. Even if this particular fight were to end soon, that would not be the end of the story. What do you guys think? Is Fraudkuna done for, or does he still have a trump card? Is the fight going to end soon, or do we still have a lot of chapters of this fight ahead of us? And even if the fight were to end soon, what would that mean for the rest of the story? What is the next arc? Don't forget to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. If you're looking for an epic Jujutsu Kaisen video to watch next, don't miss our video that explains and ranks every special grade sorcerer in Jujutsu Kaisen, link on screen and in the description. If you enjoyed this JJK video and you want to see more in the future, leave a quick like to let me know. And if you want to help this channel attain special grade status by hitting 2 million subscribers, subscribe right now.